car crash and maybe you think about going to the repair shop or your medical bills, but there's an enormous amount. And we spoke to a leading researcher on this who worked with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and published a report in 2019, updated in 2023, and he gave us a number for Long Island. He did a calculation looking at fatals, serious accidents, not so serious, and just property damage. And with that, he calculated $3.4 billion. This is Dr. Ted Miller. He's based out of the DC area, and he's been researching this for decades.
And this number just keeps building up year after year.
Right. Yeah. Every year, this toll comes to Long Island. It comes across the country. And as Long Islanders deal with car crashes and seeing pile-ups on the LIE, there's a cost to it. And it has a ripple effect, as you know.
Yeah, let's talk about that ripple effect. It affects every Long Islander, right?
Absolutely. The research notes that it can even increase your taxes. Think about the emergency services that are responding to the scene, having to go to car crash, at whether it's on Sunrise Highway, on the southern state, wherever it may be. They're spending time doing that. But it can also lead to insurance premiums getting hiked up, as one crash can have a cascading effect on even your insurance, even if you don't get into a crash. These numbers are huge. I mean, you're talking about $3.4 billion, but it's broken up into like 9 different categories. You got costs to pollution, you have costs to market productivity. Think about people who are no longer in the job force. It just keeps going.
Yeah, so that cost, other than just the accident cost and maybe your injuries, the financial toll, is just devastating to some folks.
Yeah, I mean, people are no longer doing what they love, no longer being able to provide for their family. We touched on all of these different elements of it in our story that went live today on newsday.com, and it's really sad, and for the people we talk to, it's depressing for them losing the thing that made them feel a part of society.
Now, we did a deeper look at how crashes are impacting Long Islanders. Let's take a look at that. Long Island's roads can be breathtaking, but they also can be frustrating, and for some, life-changing.
All I saw was lights, bright lights, and a crash.
Nikayan Bartholin doesn't remember much after she was hit head-on by a drunk driver in Valley Stream in 2023. She was in the hospital for 2 months and multiple surgeries later, with even more to come. Nikayan is recovering at home.
Since the crash, I haven't been able to walk without a device.
Nikayan says the financial toll is almost as bad as her suffering from extensive injuries. The once active and financially independent dialysis nurse can't work anymore. And though she gets some financial assistance, she struggles to pay her rent and for her medications and doctor's visits. Her family helps, but she cringes whenever a bill comes in. And they come in a lot.
I can't open every single one of them right away. I'll open 1 or 2, and then the next day I'll open another one.
Nikayan's financial situation has been completely destroyed due to this accident.
Nikayan's attorney estimates her medical bills total around $7 million. Her work's health insurance covered about $2 million, but that's maxed out. She's potentially on the hook for some of the rest. All because he says the other driver, who has been found guilty of DWI, had minimal insurance and few recoverable assets.
I could have a $10 million judgment in my hand, and if there's no way to collect on it, it's worth the paper it's printed on. And that's probably what's going to happen in this case.
In 2023, car crashes on Long Island cost at least $3.4 billion in medical care, lost work, property damage, and more, according to Ted Miller with the Pacific Institute for Research and Evaluation.
I was facing the ceiling, had immediate pain in my lower back, I was screaming.
Frank LaRosa from Port Jefferson Station was rear-ended while at a red light in 2016. Nearly a decade later, he still can't work. He gets a workers' comp check, but that significant part of his income will run out, and he doesn't know how he'll replace it to pay his rent.
So what am I going to do then? What's going to happen then?
Personal injury attorneys say stories like these are a growing problem on Long Island. If a driver gets into an accident and there are costly injuries without enough insurance coverage, the financial loss for victims and their families can be unimaginable.
I absolutely do see clients more and more being financially devastated by being a victim of a car crash.
One personal injury attorney says New York drivers must have $50,000 in no-fault coverage and $25,000 in liability coverage. Many drivers don't increase those minimums, leaving victims draining any available funds quickly. The rest is up to them or possibly the state, which costs taxpayers more. Possible solution could be a state-mandated increase to car insurance minimums, but that could raise everyone's rates, making it a tough sell to state lawmakers.
It's been an ongoing battle, but 25 is the limit.
But Nakayan Bartholin says, even with the pain and financial stress, she's trying to remain positive.
My mom says, don't cry. You're alive.
Well, this certainly was an eye-opening report for myself to investigate. But Josh, what were some of the surprising things that you found during your investigation?
Sure. When I spoke with Frank LaRosa as well, his story really stuck with me because grew up on Long Island, spent his whole time here, has been driving since he was a teen. He was professionally driving, delivering auto parts. And he says he never got into a car accident in his life. And he was just at a red light 9 years ago, ready to go to a Christmas party. He says his boss was inviting him to it because he was training him to become a manager. He was going to move on up and make more money for his family. And sitting at that red light, according to police records and story he told us, he got rear-ended. And he got hit so hard, he thought he had floored the gas because of how fast he moved forward. He said he was parallel to the ceiling. He was screaming for his lower back. But while he was transported to the hospital in an ambulance, he didn't suffer like serious injuries when you see what Nakayan suffered. But 9 years later, he's still dealing with this every day. I mean, we were talking about the Knicks playing and the Mets game, and he's working through his chronic pain while trying just to watch the game. And he told me that it's even been tough to get as excited as he used to because he has this depression that he's dealing with, that he no longer can work, no longer can provide. His wife is working longer than he ever wanted to. And it's even tougher for him to get up for the Knicks' exciting run. Now, this has been a special moment.
Of course.
But even that, like just, an everyday life thing that we're all excited about. And he's working through, seeing his world through that prism, and it's cost him so much money.
A lot of money. In fact, he was saying that they had a lovely house, a larger house. They had to downsize their house because he just couldn't afford it anymore. And that his wife was working probably later in life than she expected to, just to keep the lights on.
When we were talking, and you see a great Walt Frazier bobblehead he had on his TV set, trying to bring the Knicks good luck. His chihuahua was barking in the bedroom, right next to the living room, right next to the kitchen, right next to the dining room. Mm-hmm. And he was just trying to navigate that space as he navigates life after this crash. And you could see the pain it's taken on him, and he can recall that accident just like the back of his hand. And he says now that he is driving again, when he's at a light, he is constantly looking in his rearview mirror, thinking, wondering what's going to happen. All from a person who, in this case, was an unlicensed driver who blew into the back of his car.
Yeah.
And now here he is.
So the psychological toll, the financial toll, as we were saying, they had to go to a smaller place. His wife was working later. Nakayan was telling me she had to move into a smaller place. She can't work anymore. She was active, had a great career path ahead of her. That has all been taken away, and she has no idea how it's going to end up.
Yeah, and I think as Newsday looks at Long Island's dangerous roads, it's not just kind of this moniker that we're thinking about. It's so many people's lives here impacted. And I'm thinking about a person I interviewed toward the end of our story that's online today about Lourdes Sanchez. Came here from Peru 7 years ago, according to her daughter, and was sending money back home eve of Thanksgiving and was struck by a car, killed, and the family's life has been devastated. But the daughter told me they moved to Long Island for a safe life.
Yeah.
And she now has lost her mother due to that accident. And it's a little tough to make sense of. And it's something that I think is important to remember, that every time you pass a car crash, whether it's on the Grand Central, Long Island Expressway, wherever it is, there's a huge ripple effect. $3 billion of costs annually, people's lives upended, and we're just trying to document what's going on.
You know, there was one takeaway that I got from this story. I'm not sure if you got the same one, but one is to looking at insurance rates. Do we need to increase our minimum insurance rates? I know I'm looking at that. Are you looking at that? Or
yeah, we were talking about this before. It's just, it leaves you wondering, am I protected enough? With Frank LaRosa, the driver who hit him didn't have great insurance, the owner of that car. They went through his policy, he had $100,000. They got the full amount, but he ended up taking away $54,000 after fees to the lawyers, after money to the state insurance fund. So even with that top number, you're still not necessarily getting as much as you might think you would, and that's not necessarily going to cover all the bills anyway.
Right, because hospital costs are just so incredibly high now,
Yeah.
and you never know what's going to happen. Josh, thank you so much. I tell you, this has been just an eye-opening report. You know, our team of researchers have created an interactive map showing crash locations across the island from 2022 to 2024. Now, you can see that and read more on our Dangerous Roads investigation on Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. Thanks for watching. I'm Andrew Enger.